Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Everyday Stuff of the 21st Century. I am your host, Carolina Monch, and today we are talking about gender and everyday life. On today's episode, we have a new special guest, Annika.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here today. Can't wait to talk more about this topic with Carolina.
Woohoo! So, let's get started. Okay, so my first question for you is, do you know the difference between sex versus gender, and how would you explain the difference?
So I think your sex is your biological characteristics, so the things that make you male or female, and then your gender is social characteristics, so things that around you that influence you.
Yeah, no, exactly. Sex has to do with the hormones and chromosomes, and gender has to do with behavior and feelings and things like that.
Yeah, in my sociology of gender and science class, we kind of talked about this. It was one of the first things we talked about, which was how sex versus gender is distinguished.
Yeah, no, I think that's a popular topic in a lot of sociology classes, so yeah. All right, my next question is, how do you think that the media influences our gender roles?
Good question. I think they kind of put a wrong or a bad idea about gender roles. Sometimes they can be very stereotypical, especially media or movies or even music from back then would be very traditional. But now I feel they're starting to broaden them a little more. So.
Like what? Do you have an example of something that's just broadened the idea of gender roles or something?
The show The 100 on Netflix. It's a good watch, I recommend. The whole time gender was never an issue. There were these tribes in the show, and it was a mix of both female and male leaders who had the same power.
Yeah, no, I did watch that show, and there was I remember watching, there was all these issues throughout the show, but there was never a power struggle between who could be a better leader, between a guy and a girl, which I did think was very interesting. Yeah, that's a good example. Good show. Recommend it. All right, another question for you. How do expectations of masculinity and femininity shape the way people express emotions?
I feel some of it, masculinity and femininity, is very pushed onto us in a way. For example, my boyfriend, he tries to be very masculine, and he doesn't like to talk about his emotions and tries to be tough, while I'm always, expressing how I feel and trying to,
Communicate
with him. But he's gotten better, but sometimes it's don't try and hide your feelings or anything to look a certain way.
Yeah, it's why do you have to act so tough? Just tell me how you feel.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, yeah, oh yeah. All right, another question for you. Have you ever felt pressure to conform to your own gender norms? And if you have, can you share an example maybe?
Not that often, to be honest. I try not to let it get to me. The way some parts of society pressure you to conform to gender norms, but maybe when I'm with older people, just to be more ladylike in front of certain people, my grandparents or seniors in general, just because sometimes they don't get it, I guess.
Yeah, and exactly, in front of my grandma on my dad's side, she's very Latin, the classic strict Latin, so I'm very feminine, the classic lady around her, always sitting up or
Right.
always wearing certain clothing and things like that. So yeah, I think for that I have to be very traditional and I don't know. Yeah, it's always interesting because then everywhere else I'm I'll just be my classic self.
Me too.
All right, so this question is going to be a little more personal, but in terms of applying gender into a little more personal setting, your jobs, have you ever experienced sex segregation in the workplace?
I get a little bit. When I was a tennis coach, the guys I would work with would always try and take over my court and act like it was their court. When we shared it, we were basically both teaching on the court, when actually it was my court and he was just helping out for the day. And it kind of made me feel like an assistant or something to him, and it was just really weird, and he was just an asshole bossing me around when I was taller than him, of course. And he would always just ignore me and was kind of like disrespectful towards me and not recognize that I'm a coach, he's a coach, and we literally get paid the same. So.
Ugh, that's crazy. People would do the same thing. Whenever I was a lifeguard, I was the head guard, and, like, some of the guys just, like, would never listen to me. Like, they would just be like, what is she saying? Like, it was, like, the most, like, annoying thing ever. But, that sucks. I'm sorry. All right, next question. Do you know what socialization is and what an agent of socialization is?
Yeah, so I'm just going to guess here, but socialization is just kind of like how the world prepares people for society, right? I'm not too sure what an agent of socialization is, but, like, if I had to guess, maybe it'd be, like, the factors that, like, play into how you socialize.
Yeah. So, kind of, yeah. So, socialization refers to the learning that takes place to prepare humans to function in their social worlds. And so, through socialization, people learn the norms of a particular social context and acquire skills that allow them to live in large groups. And an agent of socialization are, like, the people and institutions that convey important lessons about fitting into social life, and usually that's people's parents or their guardians or whoever is raising them from day one. All right, we're going to switch the topic a little bit. Now we're going to be talking about gender relating to children and toys. And so my first question for this is, do you think it's good for there to be girls' toys and boys' toys?
I mean, I don't think it's necessarily good. I feel like, in a way, there will always be something, like, that, because stuff that is so deeply rooted. I'm not saying I agree with it, but even for me growing up, I would only play, like, Barbies and dolls and Littlest Pet Shop toys and stuff like that, while my brothers would play with car toys, dinosaurs, video games, just, like, more things directed towards boys.
Yeah, no, my grandparents are really focused on that. Like, my mom would kind of let me do more, like, play with those things, but my favorite toy was a snake toy that I had, and I would bring the thing everywhere, but except when I was, like, at my grandparents', I wouldn't, because they would get, like, so offended.
Yeah, and even the way we, like, me and my brothers would play was different. Like, they would wrestle and stuff, but the second they tried to drag me in it, it was, like, a whole war. Like, my parents would be like, absolutely not. Which, I mean, I can see why, because they would get aggressive, and I'm, like, the little sister, but there were definitely times where I wanted to join in, because I didn't have a sister or, like, a girl to play with who would play with dolls with me, so I would kind of feel excluded. Like, I just wanted to play, but I wasn't allowed to. Even when I played dress up, they didn't put on any dresses or join me for my tea parties. But I think the only things we did together was, like, the kitchen set we had or learning how to ride bikes. But other than that, when it came down, it was very traditional. And it wasn't, like, a forced thing from my parents. Like, they're not sexist, of course.
Yeah.
It was just kind of, like, the way things were. And, like, we had our own things growing up and our own rules. But, yeah, we grew up the same way, though.
Yeah. Okay, so what are your thoughts on kids playing with certain toys? Like, boys only playing with boy toys and girls playing with only girls' toys?
I mean, like I said, I don't really care, but because that's how I was raised, like, whenever I'm a parent one day, I'll probably do the same thing, like, buy my daughter Barbies and dolls and everything, and if I have a son, like, buy him cars and action figures. But, of course, if they really wanted a toy that was opposite to their gender or something, then I would not oppose. Like, it's not an issue to me.
Yeah, can you explain, like, a little more?
Like, I mean, let's just say I have a daughter and a son. I would give my daughter at first a Barbie while my son would get a Lego set. And maybe once my daughter gets a little older, she has absolutely no interest in Barbies and wants some Legos, then yeah, she can get some Legos. I'm just saying I'm not going to offer Legos to her right when she starts to play with toys, only later when she gets to a point where she knows what she really wants, I guess.
Okay, yeah, no, I get that. You would, like, in a sense, start off kind of traditional, like, just, like, the basic kind of thing, and if they want something different, then you'll give it to them.
Yeah, like, exactly. I want my kids to be able to express themselves, of course, but, like, I'm just gonna start off with the basics, but also like this is years from now, so who knows what can change.
True. Actually, there's this video that I want to show you. Have you ever watched Full House?
Yeah, I did, but not in a while.
Okay, well, there's a clip from Full House where it's like kind of similar to this. It's like the gender and the toys for kids, where Uncle Jesse gets upset about his sons playing with a doll, and then his wife basically just like talks to him and he changes his mind. So I will show you that clip and we will be right back. Welcome back to the Everyday Stuff of the 21st Century podcast. We are back with Annika. So, Annika, what were your thoughts on the video that I just showed you?
I mean, in a way, like what we were talking about in the beginning, it's a lot of media that plays into these gender norms and everything, but I'm surprised because Full House is an older show, like, that they switched it at the end, you know, like, when Uncle Jesse's like, it's fine, which is good, but, like, now he's acting like how he was acting in the beginning, like not wanting the kids to play with the dolls. That's kind of how it was for me. I had my own toys and my brothers had theirs.
Yeah, I see that. I feel like a lot of people probably feel the same way in that sense.
Yeah, I think so too. I want to rewatch Full House now.
No, it is a good show. It is. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Of course, I had so much fun talking with you today.
I feel like Annika is very open, and I think when it comes to the toy thing, like, I think she was just raised a certain way, but, like, that doesn't stop her from still believing in, like, the freedom of expression and just knowing that a child can do and should do whatever they want. And, I mean, what they play with and what they enjoy. And I think that is very important.